Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this weekly vlog. It is honestly the most glorious evening. I am actually out on a walk in a dress because I didn't have time to get changed and we're going out for dinner after, and I just actually unexpectedly just feel like I'm living my coastal grandma dream. Genuinely feel like I'm living my coastal grandma dream. As you will have seen, I'm by the ocean, sat on a bench and just, I guess you could say, meditating, musing, connecting to Mother Earth and her wisdom. And it's funny, it really got me thinking. We're jumping into the vlog straight away with all of my thoughts. Actually, before I do that, this is a very exciting week because it is 1 year of Soul Shala this week. We are celebrating Soul Shala's birthday on Beltane, which is on Thursday. It's now Tuesday evening, so much going on this week. I'm going to be baking a cake to celebrate and do a little bit of kitchen magic. I'm just feeling very excited, feeling very chipper. We also have warm weather, which is just glorious. Look at that blue sky. But yes, as I said, I'm out on my walk and I'm just sat musing, thinking, and it's really funny how I feel like Mother Nature really mimics the way in which what it is we need to embody. Like, she has so many lessons and really shows us what we need to embody more of at different given times, and you connect to different elements at different given times. And I just feel like anyone on the vlogs will know this already, but over the past almost 2 years I've been really spent so much time grounding and rooting. And for those of you who don't know, I'm very much a water sign. I'm very fluidy, feminine, floaty, and grounding was something I resisted for a really long time. And over the past sort of 2 years it's been a real journey of like grounding and rooting and really like getting to know myself, I guess, in that way, and being surrounded by like big oak trees that feel grounding and really motherly in a way. And I feel like this next chapter and this very temporary chapter really feels like lessons of the water and like lessons of the element of water and the ocean. And one sec, people are coming and I'll come back. But yes, as I was saying, this chapter very much feels like one of like lessons of the ocean and lessons of the water, of like fluidity, of intuition, of ever-changingness, of femininity as well, of cycles. It just feels like a really special chapter, and I'm just feeling really grateful at the moment. I'm feeling very believing that things are happening in divine timing. And I would be lying if I said to you I haven't had moments in the past few years where I've questioned that divine timing and that belief and that faith. I was actually spoken to one of my really good friends. She's actually on here, Live and Believe Collective. Her name's Courtney, and we chatted all about this. More people coming. Sorry guys, had to come and sit in the car because whilst I am happy vlogging in public, I'm not happy vlogging in public. So yeah, as I was saying, I was actually chatting to very recently a friend of mine called Courtney, who's actually on here, and we were talking just about those moments, especially in like your spiritual journeys where you question your faith and you question your belief and you kind of just like question what there is in place. And I really think that, like, I would be lying if I said I didn't have those moments. I actually think they're a really important and sacred part of the process, and they're very much connected to that descent that I know a lot of people are now speaking about. But when I first dipped my toes into spirituality, no one was speaking about this. The fact that like when we are moving into new versions of ourselves, it's not all ascending and higher and higher. A lot of it is like a descent downwards. I also think this is like a really deeply feminine spiritual experience. I've actually spoken all about this in a blog post on Soul Shala. It's called The Feminine Cycles of Bloom and Decay, and I just really speak about like that descent process and the cycles we move through. But I'm going off on a tangent. Welcome to this week's vlog. I'm so happy you're here and I'm really excited to spend a week with you. Now, I'm back in the car and I'm going to probably check in with you again tomorrow because I'm literally about to head and get Jake from the station, and we are heading out for a bit of a pasta dinner with his mum. So I'm going to leave you here and then we will check in the morning and just dive into what I hope is going to be a really beautiful week. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Good evening. It is actually a little bit later in the day today. I started my day quite slowly actually with my usual morning routine, pulling cards, meditation, a little bit of gentle yoga. I actually went to Pilates on Monday and I am so sore. it was a reformer Pilates class and it was like brutal, so I'm still really sore. But yes, it is now Wednesday. I've been chugging away at work today. I feel like I just got into a bit of a work hole today, and all of a sudden the day had just passed me by. I also had to do a food shop early in the morning. The day's flown by, but it is now the evening. I am on my evening walk, sat on a rock at the beach, literally feeling like a mermaid. I feel like a real life mermaid, which is honestly a Cancerian's dreams, at the beach surrounded by the rocks and seaweed. Just love it. But yeah, that is, I actually don't know if I mentioned that I found a new spot to walk and I've been really loving it as well, which is always so nice. I feel like that's how you know you're really beginning to get to know an area, is when you discover your own little walks. But yes, the plan for the evening is I actually have a bit of an evening to myself, and this morning whilst I was at the shop I got some ingredients to make the cake for the Soul Shadow birthday, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Beltane, which is so exciting. For those of you who've maybe not heard of Beltane before, Beltane is May 1st and it is a real celebration of like return of the sun, but also it's a celebration of like abundance and fertility, and there's just like a lot of joy and colour, and it's a really like auspicious and abundant day, which was originally why I wanted to launch Soul Shadow on that day as well, because I really wanted the energy of that to infuse into the business. But that is tomorrow, so I got some ingredients to bake a cake, and I think I mentioned this earlier, I thought I'd do a little bit of like kitchen rituals, kitchen magic, and something I'm relatively new to but also not. It's something I've actually been doing for a really long time, but obviously everything that we cook with and the natural materials have properties and have an energy as well. So the idea was I'm going to make a honey soaked almond cake. The reason being is, firstly, honey symbolizes abundance, which is what we want for Soul Shadow for the next year. Almond is very connected to the intuition. It's very symbolic of intuition. I just thought that was really beautiful. I also love a honey almond cake. And then I thought maybe tomorrow morning when I go for my walk again, I might pick up some like cherry blossoms or cow parsley or something to decorate the cake. And I just thought that would be a really nice, I also really enjoy baking, so I just thought that would be a really nice little ritual for Soul Shadow. I'll probably light a candle, light some incense whilst I do it, and make it a real kitchen ritual tomorrow. Other than that, there really isn't too much planned. I am teaching evening classes tomorrow, so we're doing our Soul Shadow catch up on Friday for the community, and we're doing a bit of just like a birthday catch up. We're going to pull some cards and just have a real celebration. With that being said, we also do have 10% off memberships at the moment. So if you're watching this and this goes live on Sunday, which I'm going to be really strict with myself and make sure it goes live on Sunday, we still currently have 10% off Soul Shadow memberships with the code birthday. So if you want to join us, I'll link it down below. It's always linked in my bio. We also have 7-day free trials, so you can do the 7-day free trial and you still then get 10% off once it kicks in. So yeah, that is very exciting. And we also, the biggest thing I think I'm excited about, and I know I showed you this in last week's vlog, but for anyone who wasn't here, is we've got a bit of like a shared community board, which I've called like the Soul Shadow Beltane Daisy Chain. And it's just a space where everyone can post quotes and pictures, and just them celebrating Beltane is the idea behind it. And I'm really excited because we haven't done that before. And I just think that would be a really lovely community space for us on Soul Shadow over the next few days. But yes, other than that, as I said, plan for the evening is I might make the cake, not ice it. So make it and then it can set overnight, and then in the morning I can come back around and ice it and decorate it and have a real ritual around it, rather than baking it tomorrow and then it having to cool and it just taking that little bit longer. So that is the plan. But other than that, I'm planning a very cozy evening just to sit, have some dinner and chill. But I thought, as I said, I could take you along with me. I also packed myself a rose and lemon balm tea with a little bit of honey, and it was glorious for my evening walk. But if I do not get a move now, I will not get home in time because I still have quite the walk back to the car. So let's get going. Thought I was finished chatting, but I'm not. I was literally just thinking that life at the moment feels a little bit like, or I can feel the energy of a book that I read. Must have been last year. It was called Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. It was like a really cheesy, like Hallmarky book, and I loved it. I actually think I'm going to reread it because, as I said, life is kind of feeling like that right now. It was kind of set in like a coastal town. It was just very cute, but as I was thinking about that and thinking I wanted to tell you that, I was also just thinking about like, God, it's so pretty. I was just thinking about how we are so fortunate to go through so many different chapters of ourselves and live so many different lives and to live through so many different versions of ourselves. And that's like, I often think about how many lives I can say I've lived when I become a little bit older, and all of the eras and the versions of myself I lived through. And whilst at times when you're navigating the change in between them, it can feel really hard, it actually is such a privilege to be able to live all of these different versions of yourself. Honestly, I need to show you how pretty it is. Have you ever seen anything more beautiful? I don't think so. But yeah, I was just thinking that, and I was like, you know what? We are so fortunate to have a life that allows us to explore so many versions of ourselves. And I also actually feel so fortunate that through my work on Soul Shadow, it has so much space for me to also explore different versions of myself. But I'm not going to gush over that for too long because nobody wants to hear that. But yeah, just feeling very, very grateful this evening. Always do when I come out and connect to Mother Nature. Reminder, if you haven't been out on a walk today, this week, get out on a walk, connect to nature. You're only going to feel better, I promise. But anyway, I'm going to keep walking because we used to have a real trek back to the car and tuck in for a cozy evening. Hello guys, happy Thursday, happy Beltane, happy 1st of May, and it is also 1 year of Soul Shadow today. I won't even go on about how excited I am right now because I'm in the process of icing this cake. So I know I mentioned last night, I actually baked it last night. I've allowed it to sort of cool and set overnight, and then I've done my icing this morning, and I actually went and picked some flowers as well to decorate. And the idea behind this was a little like ritual baking, which I feel like I've kind of spoken about this when I've done like made simmer pots with you guys in vlogs, which I know I've done quite a few times. I love to make them kind of around like the autumn time, but I kind of do the same thing when I bake in terms of like intentional baking and ritual baking. So I have made a almond honey cake, and it has got cinnamon for again abundance, honey for abundance, almond for intuition. I've also gone and picked different flowers to add to this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, vanilla as well, vanilla frosting, because vanilla is all about like love and sensuality. So this is kind of the intention that has gone into our Soul Shadow birthday cake. Honestly, just a fun little activity which I love to bake, so this has been so unbelievably fun. So my thoughts are, this is going to be very rustic because it is just a very sort of chilled bake this time, but my thoughts are a very rustic iced cake with fresh flowers on top, and I just think that'll be really, really pretty. And then Jake is going to be my taste tester for this. We'll both have a slice, maybe and light a candle this evening, and just celebrate 1 whole year of Soul Shadow. It's such a small thing really, but it's just really exciting. It's honestly come so far in just a year, and I'm feeling very, very grateful. I feel like this time last year, I probably didn't even realize how big of a deal it would feel. For those of you who don't kind of know what Soul Shadow is, the history of Soul Shadow, I sort of started off doing online classes when I had a full in-studio timetable. I started teaching the odd online class here or there, just because everyone was kind of doing it during COVID, and I was like, oh, you know what, it's good to do. And it really just started with, sorry, I'm going in and out of focus there, but it really just started with moon inspired classes. Actually, I used to do like full moon, new moon, waxy moon, like classes for every single moon, and that was kind of my concept behind it. And then from there, it eventually sort of grew into this concept of Soul Shadow. And very soon, once it became this concept of Soul Shadow, we weren't even on our own platform at that stage. I was just posting to like a hosted platform elsewhere. There really wasn't that many classes, and it wasn't really something I'd given much thought or intention. Obviously, I put a lot of love into it, but I didn't really know where it was going. And when the idea of Soul Shadow came along, and I realized that actually this was something I loved, and this is something that could really grow into something so unbelievably special, it was then that I began to think, well, it'd be really nice to have this on my own website and have this just be this really amazing community space where we can have blog posts and live classes and just begin to really build that community. And that is, it took a long time to do, if I'm being honest, and that is kind of what we're celebrating, because it's 1 year today that Soul Shadow went on its own platform and really became what it is that we know now. And I'm just feeling so unbelievably grateful. It's been such an interesting year, and I guess in the sense that it has grown in the way I guess I didn't even expect it to grow. I always knew in a way what I imagined, but having seen what members love, it's actually become such a deeply feminine space, which whilst I always wanted it to be, I never imagined it could quite be. Honestly, I'm wrestling trying to get the icing out of the whisk, but I don't think I ever imagined it would be such like a really magical and feminine space. Like, I didn't think that I would be, I don't know, making goddess classes and getting to take our birthday photos in a flower crown and just things like this, and have it be so deeply aligned with the brand of Soul Shadow. So I'm just feeling very, very grateful, very grateful. And this is looking very good actually for a little tiny cake. But I'm gonna keep icing, and then I'm gonna decorate with some flowers. I am just popping on to finish this vlog here. As you will have seen on Friday, I was all sort of set up for our evening Beltane workshop. Before we even dive in, actually, I'm all fresh-faced in my cozies. I'm actually trying some new skincare, which I might show you next week because I think I already love it. But back to what I was saying, on Friday we did a really lovely community Beltane circle with members of Soul Shadow. It was both live and recorded, and that was sort of my little setup that I showed you there. But that was honestly just so lovely. We did some card pulls. I did like a general tarot reading, then some personal tarot readings, and we also did like a fire gazing meditation, set intentions for the spring coming into summer. It was just really, really lovely. And whenever we do lives with the community, they always are these like quite casual catch-up spaces, which I really enjoy. And actually, I've decided to leave that as free on the studio platform. So if you are a little bit curious and want to try that, you're more than welcome to. I've left it, you can rent it for 24 hours for free. And on top of that, to celebrate the birthday, I think I already mentioned this in the vlog, but we do currently have 10% off all memberships until Tuesday. So this vlog's going live on Sunday until Tuesday. I decided to leave it a little bit longer just because we've got a long weekend here in the UK, so it just gives people a little bit longer. But that is just to celebrate 1 whole year and create that opportunity for people to dive in. And that does also apply to the 7-day free trial as well, so you really can give us a little try and kind of dip your toes into that. But one thing we also did speak about on the community circle and catch up was kind of like my intentions and the visions that for Soul Shadow basically for the next year. And I often think that when, especially if there's anyone else here who might be self-employed, or just generally when we think about what we want to do for another year, we can quite often set really big intentions or make really, really big plans, which are great. But also when I really tuned into what felt aligned for Soulshala for the next year, it actually wasn't those sort of big earth-shattering intentions. There was a real like almost just like quiet consistency that really wanted to come through, I guess. Like a main intention for us on Soulshala for the next year is to keep doing what we're doing and really just build those stable foundations. And I still consider Soulshala to be really early days, even like we've only been on the platform we've been on for now a year. Even before that, it was not quite what it is today. And I just really feel like that slow, steady presence, connecting with members as much as we can, because honestly, it feels like such a lovely sisterhood in there. We really are building something that I just feel is really sacred. Obviously, I'm biased, but I really do feel like it is quite sacred. And so actually just having the time to spend on that and allowing that to be the main intention of just this like steady, constant, this rooted space that people can come to that feels really safe and constant and rooted, and again just like so rooted in like divine feminine principles. Like we value the softness over constantly striving, permission to slow down, but also just like permission to be yourself and permission to feel fully into a little bit of whimsicalness and a little bit of femininity. And so often maybe we don't have spaces for that, and Soulshala, it's really just there to be that sort of space. So yeah, that is kind of what I was thinking for the next year of Soulshala, and I really love being able to share that, because as much as it's for me, it's also for members, and it just feels really, really special. So with that being said, I think that is everything for this week's vlog. I think, yeah, it's definitely everything for this week's vlog. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and I guess celebrating with me this week. I'm already excited to catch up with you guys next week. I feel like I'm already out of my vlogging slump, which is fabulous. But otherwise, oh, I know what I wanted to say. Even if you aren't a member on Soulshala and that's just not something you're even thinking about, I just wanted to mention that there are like so many things that we do that you don't even need to be a member to enjoy. There is the blog space, which I actually upload to really often with like musings, recipes, just different things about like there'll be a blog post on Beltane, there will be an insight into classes. I often write different, I think I spoke about this actually in, I think I spoke about this in this vlog about, I write a blog post about the feminine cycles of bloom and decay and just really deep feminine musings, and those are completely free for you to enjoy. We're also on Pinterest, because Pinterest is one of my favorite social media platforms, because I feel like we can just consume that really slowly and intentionally, which is exactly what we do at Soulshala. But yeah, if you want to connect with us in any other kind of way or connect with me in any other kind of way, you might really enjoy those. Other than that, I am sending you so much love. Last thing, I promise. I did mention over on my Instagram that I was going to do a little video on like musings of a small business owner. Such a big reception to that. And I know that some of you here don't necessarily follow me on Instagram. So if you do have questions that you would love for me to answer, please pop them below this video. Otherwise, I'm sending you so much love. That's everything from me. And I cannot wait to hang out with you next week. Bye guys.